Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family, I'm cloud hired.
So, I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired. Because of Google Architect program,
I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the Glowcloud team.
All right, welcome everybody to another cloud computing career Q&A session from Go Cloud Careers. My name is Chris Johnson and I am the Chief Operating Officer here. So normally on Tuesday nights, we do our Head in the Clouds web show with me, Mike, and Alonzo. But we've been getting a lot of requests lately to do a Q&A session during the evening. Normally we do these during the day, but because of all the requests that we've been getting, we decided to do one of these in the evening. So let me introduce ourselves, and I encourage you, don't be shy. Please don't be shy. I've been trying to get some people to talk in the chat box. Nobody's been wanting to talk yet, but give us some activity there in the chat box. Don't be shy. We're here to help you. We want to know where you're from, what your goals are, and how we can help you. But while I'll wait for all of you to start giving me some stuff in the chat box there, let me introduce you to us. So the team on this call has over 50 years of leadership experience, and we're here to help you build your best technology career. So first of all, we have Mike, our founder and CEO. He's been in tech for 25 years and has held elite architect positions for 2 decades as a network architect, enterprise architect, cloud architect, and a business architect. And just if you're interested in figuring out how he got to where he is, you can check out the video that we put out this morning from Mike explaining how he became a principal cloud architect in less than 2 years with no previous experience in technology. So be on the lookout for that. It'll probably pop up in your recommendations, but that is from Mike from this morning. Next, we've got Alonzo. He's our Chief Marketing Officer. He's an expert, of course, on marketing, branding, strategy, and leadership. And he's got 30 years of marketing experience with major global organizations and has led major cloud projects. He helps our students build the elite brands that make the world come to them. Speaking of which, I forgot to tell everybody, at 9:49 a.m. this morning, I got a cloud hired message from somebody in Sweden that is in our program. Excited for that. That was a great way. 21 minutes before we had class this morning. That was a great way to go into class this morning. Speaking of brands and students and having the world come to them. There we go. So, and then of course there's me. Again, my name is Chris Johnson, the Chief Operating Officer here. I have no tech experience, but that's a good thing. I got to keep these 2 guys in line. So that's my job. I have 15 years of HR and corporate leadership experience. So that's what I bring to the table for you, for Mike, for Alonzo, for everybody. So again, we're here to help you. We all hold MBAs. We all have the skills from our extensive careers, and we want to utilize this to help you not only get hired, but put you on your path to long-term career success. So again, we're here just to answer your questions. So ask us those questions, whether those questions are about the cloud architect career, cloud engineer career, the cloud Timbuktu career. I don't know. If it's I'm new to cloud and I don't know what a cloud architect is, and you want to know what a cloud architect is, ask us that question. If you're curious about, do I need to code as a cloud architect, or do I need to code as a cloud engineer, or do I have to have any experience to become a cloud architect? Ask us the questions. Don't be shy. There is no wrong question to ask. The only wrong thing is to not ask. So make sure you ask us our questions so that we can help you. Our whole goal is to help you reach your goal as quickly as possible. So I'm done with my introduction. I've got a few things that I want to tell everybody about, but before I do that, let's get an introduction from Mike and Alonzo. I'm sure they would like to share more than just what I said about them. So.
Well, Chris, I just got another cloud hired message, this time from a Faisal, who I thought would be in Pakistan with that name, but he's actually in India. So this is the second cloud hired today, and that's something that I'm obviously excited about. So I want you to know that all of you, every last one of you, can have the career of your dreams. Last week, it was Roy who got his first job as a senior solution architect at Deloitte. We're real proud of him. At the same time, we had a landscaper get an enterprise architect job. And all of you can do it if you have the right training, the right plan, the right focus, and you do the right work. See, when I left medicine, I made the mistakes that everybody did. I went and got 6 certifications and thought certifications would get my foot in the door. Nobody cares about certifications except for the people selling certifications. But certifications can help you get an interview. And if you have the right skills plus the interview, it is the magic combination. And that's why I'm here, because I don't want people wasting years. Somebody messaged me today and he wants to be a cloud architect and he's studying Python and he's studying R and he's studying all these and DevOps and SysOps. And I said, well, that's great, but you got to get all that from your resume, because if you do that, people are going to see you as an engineer, not an architect. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, an architect is a digital transformation specialist, someone that meets with businesses, asks about their business problems and gives them a business solution. It's just that our tool is technology. So ask your questions, please. You know, trying to get on my calendar for a private session is near impossible. And unfortunately, it's pretty expensive due to the opportunity cost of my time. And I want to help everybody in the entire world get their first job, earn more money in tech, and live the best life. So please ask questions while you're here. Invite some friends to ask questions while you're here too, because we want to help everybody. I carve out at least 2 hours once a week and another 2 hours on our How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And please come join us. But I'm here now. Chris is here now. Chris has got an HR background like you can't imagine. I've got 20 years of helping people get jobs that we were told were never possible before. And Alonzo's so good at marketing that our students don't even need to apply for jobs in most cases. As soon as they put Go Cloud Careers on their resume and follow our resume guidance, the world comes to them. So please ask your questions. I want to get you all hired. If you're with us or not, I prefer you're with us, but no matter what, I want to get you hired. So over to you, Alonzo.
Well, that's a great introduction. That's a great synopsis of who we are and what we do. We are excited to just answer your questions. We want to give you that straight line that focuses on what you need to do and how you need to do it so that you can get to your job faster, quicker, more efficiently, and with more competency. So we're here to answer your questions, and we're looking forward to giving those responses to you. So don't hesitate. Don't be shy. Let's get it going.
All right. And so, yeah, just to reiterate, don't be shy. I see there's 27, 28, 30-ish people in here. Ask us your questions. We want to help you. We want to clear up any concerns or ambiguities or clarifications that you might need. That's what we're here for. So let me move Mike down here to the bottom. All right. So now let me tell everybody about a few things. The first thing that I want to remind everybody about is that we do our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We also are doing one this coming Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, getting a lot of requests to do things in the evening for people, so we're attempting to accommodate that. We can't always accommodate it, but we're trying our best. So register for that webinar. That webinar will explain exactly what a cloud architect is, what hiring managers are looking for, what a cloud architect does, what chief information officers expect from their cloud architects, and not from us, but from the CIOs themselves. What type of experience is necessary, if any, to become a cloud architect? The secret is none. It does not matter. Lack of experience is not a reason to not become a cloud architect. So, but we'll give you more details about that on the webinar. We'll talk about the job descriptions. Those job descriptions that ask for 10 gold medals and 65 years of Kubernetes experience and every single coding language that could possibly be ever imagined. How to deal with those job descriptions. We had a HR director from a company, a large organization, actually join our class today. And spoke with our students for an hour. One of our students, bless their heart, specifically asked about the job description that he saw. And out of this HR director's mouth was, it's possible that was a bad copy and paste job. I'll have to take a look at it. And when he said that, I was like, I say that every day. I'm the HR guy. I know it's a bad copy and paste, but to hear another HR person in real time in a company that has 300 open positions for architects say, that might have been a bad copy and paste job on a job description. Let me take a look at it. So job descriptions are not
Meaningless.
the golden rule. They are not. Anyway, back to the webinar. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about everything. And then, of course, we'll talk about what you need to know as a cloud architect. So register for that. It's completely free. We're going to go over all of that, and then we'll take your questions. You can come off mute. You can come on screen. You can talk with us, have a conversation. We'll take your questions. We want to help you. It's just a more intimate version of what we're doing here. But yeah, so we want to help you. So register for that webinar. Join us this Thursday at 1 p.m. or next Monday at 7 p.m. Either one, Eastern time. Sorry, I forgot to say EST for the time zones. So make sure you register for that and don't miss that. Next thing I want to remind everybody, for a week from today is the last day that our 60% off discount will be available. So a week from today, our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program will no longer be available for less than $1,000. So don't hesitate. If you are interested in our program, if you are interested in real Cloud Architect training, then take advantage of this discount while it's still here. With this discount is over 500 hours worth of on-demand content, including previous class recordings, access to 3 live classes a week. That's an entire year's worth of 3 live classes a week, 150, roughly 150 classes, and probably sneaky appearances by a cat named Cindy. Judging by Mike's face, Cindy's probably around somewhere. But for less than $1,000 for another week, you get access to these 3 live classes per week from experts like Mike, Alonzo, myself, university professors from the University of Tennessee at Martin, networking experts, application architect experts, cloud native architect experts, database architect experts. Take advantage of that while it's available. Just today, I had the exciting opportunity to show all of our students the complete revamp of our program that we released this weekend. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting opportunity. Don't miss out on it. So many great things that you have access to, and least of all, the community, or most of all, the community. Sorry, I don't know what's the right way to say that, but the community that you get access to of people that are just there to push you to your goal. So take advantage of that 60% discount available for 1 more week through next Tuesday. It's the last day. Also, I want to let everyone know, if you haven't found out, we have our Tech Interview Mastery program that is available now. Just launched it for pre-order. It will be going live later this month. This is I don't know, the adjectives escape me. Premier, elite, amazing interview mastery program that prepares you for the things that people don't talk about interviews. The unsaid things about interviews, how to read people, how to control the interview, how to control yourself, how to project the presence, how to deal with the presentation, how to answer things that you don't know the answers to, how to just win the interview, for lack of a better term, how to win the interview. Available now. It also includes a monthly group coaching session for all of those in the mastery program. It also includes 3 private one-on-one consultations with our team of interview experts. Depends on what that one-on-one might be. You might speak with Marcus, Alonzo about branding. You might speak with me about the application process. You might speak with an executive coach about how to handle the actual interview. We've got a whole team of people, Mike, myself, Alonzo, executive coaches, recruiters, interview professionals, resume professionals, anything and everything. So again, access to 3 private one-on-one consultations, a monthly group coaching call. Oh, and by the way, first 20 people that order this get 35% off, and they get to be part of a special 5 series group coaching call. 5 live group coaching calls for the first 20 people, in addition to everything else that's already been mentioned. So that's an exciting thing that we're launching this month. We have so many exciting things that we're doing. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of all those things. Got to do my job with all that. Now I can get on to the questions.
Let's get to the questions, but I can't hold back my excitement for that program, and I'm doing those 5 small batch classes. And you might even speak to my executive coach, the person who's coached me for the last 2 decades, because she's part of the
mine, and you might be speaking to mine too.
That as well. So, we're all kinds of excited about these things, and I just love interviews. Why? Because I basically get hired on every one, and here's the reason. I can show you later today when you guys ask about salaries, and I'm sure you will. There's a $50,000 to $100,000 range on every salary, and it's not your experience that matters, it's your interview. How well you make the people need you. So let's answer some questions. I love answering questions.
All right. So let's see. Okay. Oh, I clicked the wrong button. Okay, here we go from Des. This is a good one to kick it off with. How's the demand for solutions architects? Are these roles affected by the tech cuts?
So, Des, let's talk about why solution architects need more and more and more, even in the tech cuts. So I want you to understand revenue producing versus revenue costing people. And I'll tell you which people are getting crushed and why they're getting crushed and which people are getting hired. So if the cloud providers themselves, for the most part, all these other organizations, they need people that generate revenue. They need sales reps. They need cloud architects. They need people that are part of the sales process. And in bad times, demand for these people goes up. So we're still getting cloud architects hired pretty much every day. Every time I look around, there's another cloud architect hired. Now, cloud engineers, they're at a risky place. So, Des, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Now, Des, the next thing that's going on is we've got things like ChatGPT, and Google's got their AI, and there's all these other new AI tools out there. Now, in a tough economy, people want to get rid of people. You can't get rid of an architect because they lead people, they lead teams, they solve business problems. And we architects are being called in to say, hey, here's how the business can leverage these new AI tools or these new big data tools, or get people communicating across the world, or outsource to Asia, or outsource to India, or outsource to Africa. What kind of communications, collaboration, and supply chain things? So we architects are in further demand. Now, who's getting laid off is you're going to see a lot of software engineers laid off. And here's the reason. ChatGPT can code. And the other thing that you need to understand is it's dependent upon where you are in the world. For an engineer, I hate saying this because I'm an American, but there's no reason to hire anybody in America to be a software engineer or a cloud engineer. And here's why. It doesn't matter if your coding is in California, Chicago, Cayman Islands, Cambodia, or Cameroon. It doesn't matter. But someone can buy a nice home in Cameroon for $24,000, and in California and San Francisco to get even a basic home, you're dealing with $1.49 million. So you've got to pay someone, literally speaking, $469,000 in San Francisco just to live and get a single family home. And in Cameroon, they get $24,000 and they can live the same lifestyle. So keep that in the back of your mind. $100,000 US is functionally the equivalent, when adjusted for cost of living, to $28,000 in India. So do I hire a software engineer or a cloud engineer for $200,000 in the US? Or do I hire somebody in India for $56,000? And businesses know this. So what happens in times like this is the architects get hired, and the architects are asked, how can you make the business more efficient in a challenging economy? How can we remove these 20,000 software engineers and relocate them to India and Africa? That's what we get asked all the time. So cloud architects, big. Because what do cloud architects do? We're digital transformation specialists. It's our business acumen, our leadership, and our emotional intelligence and sales things, the human side of things that cannot be replaced by technology.
Right.
Demand for architects is strong. The market demand for our sales professionals is strong. Demand for operations professionals, not good. Demand for HR people and tech recruiters, not good. Demand for marketing people, actually not good, because marketing doesn't exactly drive sales.
No.
Marketing sets the strategy, builds the brand, which could drive sales 2 years later. So in a tough economy, Marketing goes too. Operations goes. And all those big tech jobs, they're tech-only people, meaning the ones that are hands-on tech, that lock themselves in a room, don't talk to anybody that's antisocial. So the tech job cuts actually are pretty small when you really think about it, Des, because for the most part, they're 5 to 10% of the tech workforce. They're like nothing compared to big numbers. The best tech companies used to lay off the bottom 10% of their employees every year anyway. Just that they didn't have C players around. They wanted their A players and B players. So still lots of jobs out there. People are getting hired every single day. We've got students getting hired every single day, but you got to be good. And now's when your emotional intelligence and soft skills and your interview skills and your emotional intelligence matter more. Your ability to communicate and present, because it doesn't matter how good you are. If you can't present it, nobody knows. How do I know what's in someone's head? I ask them. So make sure, Des, whatever you do to be a solution architect, you focus on the human sides, your business knowledge, your CXO relevancy, your leadership. How do you put the pieces and parts together? How does it affect people, processes, and technologies? How do you increase revenue, cut expenses for a business with technology? You do that, you'll be good to go. Plenty of jobs for you, and our students are getting hired every day.
All right. Good feedback there. Good feedback. So just to remind everybody, don't be shy. We are here to answer questions. I don't like to feel like I'm pulling teeth to get people to ask questions. You asked for us to be here in the evening time, so here we are. We are here for you.
Right.
Ask us the questions. So Kendall says, for a complete beginner who is self-teaching, where and what information should they start with? Kendall, I need you to join our webinar on Thursday. If you are interested in becoming an architect or a cloud architect or a solution architect, I would strongly encourage you to come to that webinar. But also, please let us know in the chat box what your role is, because while we can probably give you some good guidance of basic things if you're wanting to get into the cloud, once after that basic stuff, we need to know what the role is to be able to make sure you go down the right branch, so to speak.
Yeah.
So let us know what role you're interested in. If you're interested in a cloud engineer, cloud architect, if you're interested in cloud DevOps, whatever it might be. But Mike, do you want to?
The first thing I want to say is I need to know your job, because an airplane mechanic, a pilot, and a flight attendant all need different training, just like a doctor, physical therapist, and nurse do. You can't go to one program and learn all three. So we need to know your career so we can guide you. The second thing I'm going to tell you is to really be great, it's going to be really hard to self-teach. So here's the thing. Our graduates, our average, earn between $120 and $287 a year. The average cloud architect, for example, earns $199,000 per year. The average. And I can show you right now what happens to really good cloud architects, because I was a principal architect in 2 years, and we made a video at it. So what does a principal architect earn? And this is where I got in 2 years. Now, I did spend some money for training. So Oracle's the lowest paying organization, and this is from Glassdoor. Oracle pays the least, and they're paying $296,000 a year. There's a reason I'm showing you this. And Microsoft pays medium at $380,000 a year on average. And Accenture pays about $384,000 per year. And let's deal with a couple others, because I want you to understand opportunity cost and things like a business person. So here we go. That's another person with business. Let's get another architect role, just so I can show you why. Okay, Google. Here's an average principal architect. Now, I was a principal architect in 2 years. Principal architect at Google is $508,000. So you have to realize these jobs, at least architect jobs, pay more than physicians. And I used to practice internal medicine, so I know all about this. And in order to get most jobs that pay this kind of salary, you're dealing with $200,000 to $500,000 of debt in student loans. Now, is it worth it? Yeah. Now, at least with us, our architect course right now is $1,000, and the average architect earns $800 a day, which means if you were trained properly, If you got hired 2 days sooner, it pays for the entire training program. Now, I'm also going to tell you Olympians, for example, and I talk to a lot of high performance people. I know some NFL players. I'm going to have one on our show coming up really soon. I know Navy SEALs. I know business executives. They're elite. And to get to the best, you need to be taught by somebody. Do you think the gold medalist gymnasts are teaching themselves on their own? And here's the reason. They don't even know what they don't know. And that was the thing. When I tried to learn networking, I tried to do it on my own, but I didn't know what I didn't know. I spent $40,000 on my initial networking training. And now, granted, I didn't have it. I borrowed like $15,000 from my brother, and he didn't have it either, but he scraped together some money. I borrowed some money from my mother-in-law. I maxed out 2 credit cards and got another credit card. But what happened was I was earning $200,000 within the first year and a half of my career. And that was 25 years ago, which is worth like $330,000. So I was able to get that for 20 plus years. So I encourage you to find someone to get some training from. Now, I'm happy to give you guidance if I know which career it is, but if it costs you 3 years to get somewhere versus 1 year with paid training, and the average architect earns $200,000 a year, and even if you paid $20,000 for training, you'd still be $380,000 ahead. So I really, really want to help you. So first, tell me which career you want. If it's an architect, I'll give you a little information now and join us on the free webinar, but education is valuable. I know I have a $325,000 education. Anthony and I team calculated. Alonzo, what was yours to be able to do what you do? And Chris's is about the same. So, considering that, I'm not telling you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself, but I want the best for you. And education or investing in yourself is the best investment. Look, I'll get rid of a cell phone. I don't need it. I'll get rid of cable TV. I don't need it. I'll stop eating at restaurants. I don't need it. But I'll always invest in myself and my family because I think it's the best investment. Any of you guys have a different perspective?
No, I think that's very good. It's like you have to, like, say, for instance, Kendall, you want to go somewhere, but you don't have a map. So being self-taught is kind of like equivalent to picking a direction and hoping for the best. So when you do that, you're not sure that the time, which is opportunity costs, against what you think you should know versus finding someone that knows the job, has lived the job, has been in the job, can give you more of a focal point on where to start and how to move over from there. So I really think that as time is one of the resources that we cannot get back nor reproduce, you want to go to the straightest, most efficient path to get to where you want to go. So as we say, we're humble and but very confident in our approach. If you don't want to work with us, we strongly suggest you find someone who meets that criteria. But if you are interested in what we have to offer, then we definitely believe that we can help you and give you a focal point as to where to start so that you can understand what the business needs are for a cloud architect about designing, presenting, and selling, business acumen, CXO relevancy, soft skills, emotional intelligence, just to name a few of these things, and being able to understand the tech, what the tech is, what you do with it, how how organizations utilize that tech. These are some of the very few out of the many fundamentals that we teach here. So we want to make sure that we're helpful, whether you choose us or not, that you know where to start and how to get your cloud career going.
And Burton put in that he began through the AWS Solution Architect certification. I'm going to tell you why that's not related to what we do. Let's assume you have the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, which is the same reason why engineering doesn't prepare people for architecture. So here's what I do as an architect, Kendall. I go, let's say Alonzo's the CEO. I go talk to Alonzo about his business. I ask about his business goals, his business pain points, and his business challenges. I ask what the media is saying about him. I ask, for example, what his competitors are doing and where he is struggling. From there, and this is assuming based upon what you typed that you're interested in the solution architect, and the box later. From there, I've got to go figure out what we can do to help this business. So now I've got to go interview the people in the team, the department heads, the workers, and figure out them. Then I've got to go examine the business processes. And then I need to go back to my company and convince my company to give me 20 to 50 architects and engineers to help me create a design. Now from there, I've got to lead those engineers for 6 months, which is going to cost the company millions of dollars in engineering. So I got to go sell that to my own company to give me these people. From there, I've got to document it like an executive. I've got to present it back to the customer, and I've got to help sell it and negotiate the deal with the business people. And it's not going to be like anything taught in a certification where it's only one cloud. It's going to be 2 clouds in almost all cases. We're going to be dealing with technologies that aren't covered in there. And what do certifications teach? The name of a service and how to configure it. Guess what? Architects don't configure anything. There's a tech team that builds it, and there's another tech team that troubleshoots it. So if you tell us what, we can give you more guidance, but that's why you can't do these things on your own. Now, you could go get an MBA and learn the business piece. You could go to a sales coach and learn the sales coach. You can get a presentation coach and learn that. You could, and I did. I didn't have an architect program. I paid for these things, and they were a fortune. And then you could take training like I did on how to speak to executives. And then you could take more training on learning architecture, and then you could learn the network and data center technologies and multiple clouds, and you'd be good. But I'm kind of giving you a guidance of why that's actually not covered in certifications and why if you wouldn't even know where to begin. So come on Thursday if it's an architecture thing, and I will tell you exactly what you need to know step by step. And again, I encourage you to get some training from someone. It doesn't have to be us, but at least get all the training and all the things we list there.
All right. So let's see. Vernon says, I want to know if being a cloud engineer the first step to later becoming an architect. Oh, I see. You were answering that question without me even realizing it.
I was actually going to 2 at the same time.
I got it. You're playing chess. I'm over here playing checkers. Okay.
I want you to think about this. If I taught you to be an airplane mechanic, would that teach you how to fly an airplane? No. Now, I'm also going to teach you something. Cloud engineers do construction. Cloud architects do design. So let's take it another way, and then I'll give you the example. So if I taught you how to become a construction worker, and they use things like screwdrivers and hammers and nails. I don't know how you use a hammer, but that's okay. And they use tools, and they build stuff. Now, nobody asked the construction people how to design a 1,000-meter tall hotel, because the skills necessary to design a hotel have nothing to do with the skills that are there. Now, when people start as engineers, they're worse prepared to be architects, and here's the reason. Architects focus on the business, engineers focus on the technology. So when you take someone that's become a cloud engineer and you train them to become a cloud architect, and I train engineers to be architects every day, the first thing we need to do is change their focus. And then we need to teach them an entire set of skills. And I got to tell you, when I went from engineer to architect, I almost got fired. And here's the reason. I was a network engineer, and I wanted to touch the technology. And I tried to touch the technology as an architect and made a mistake, because while I was touching the technology, focusing on that one piece of technology, I missed the global big picture. So the key really is, keep it in the back of your mind that architects and engineers are so different. Now, I love animals. My cat, Cindy, is different than the golden retriever I always wanted. Now, Cindy, my cat, who's amazing, doesn't act like a golden retriever. And if she wanted to train to act like a dog, she still wouldn't be a dog. So, Vernon, many people went through architecture, but the engineers, but then they need a tremendous amount of training to unlearn all the engineering they learned. And then they need training to become an architect. So, you don't go to nursing school before you want to become a doctor, you go to medical school. Becoming an engineer on your way to being an architect is just as bad as trying to learn how to be an airplane mechanic and hoping that you can be a pilot because you know how to fix an engine. Knowing how to fly the plane versus fix the engine are 2 different things. So it's not good preparation at all. We've got students like Ivan Tambo, whose first job is a cloud architect. Roy, who just got hired as a senior cloud architect. Last week we had Wallace with 0 experience get hired as an enterprise architect, which is 1 step above a cloud architect. We have Daniel Bosa, who didn't graduate high school, who's now working as a cloud architect. Belwinder, who's a Sayed Amam, who's working at Microsoft. Coyote, who's now working at AWS. Jeffrey West, who was hired by Calian. I could go on and give you example after example after example. What makes you a cloud architect is cloud architect training. What makes you a cloud engineer is cloud engineer training. But training for one job does not make you better at somebody else's job. Imagine Usain Bolt. I love this guy. He's like the fastest guy in the world. I love him to watch. Look what he looks, big, strong, and muscular. Now look at a marathon runner, cachectic and skinny. There's a reason Usain Bolt does not do marathon running. It would slow him down, it up. So train for the job you want. If you guys, obviously, Chris or Alonzo. Alonzo's muted.
Alonzo, you're muted.
Sorry, everyone. Yeah, it's. I can't stress enough about going to you focus on what you want, not focus on the steps that you think will get you where you want to go. So I think a great analogy would be, is that if you're going to take a flight, would you want to do a nonstop or would you want to do on multiple layovers? Layovers is time. Time is money. Time reduces the amount of time that you want to go to your destination to truly enjoy the things, which is why you want to travel in the first place. So, Vernon, don't focus on focusing on those steps. And for that matter, oftentimes those layovers will take you in the total opposite direction to get you where you want to go. And this is the same instance here. So if you want to be an architect, focus on being an architect, focus on those skills, those relevancies, those competencies, and you'll be able to garner that experience here so that you can get where you want to faster without all these extraneous steps that are not necessary. What about you, Chris?
I just keep it simple. I mean, if your goal is to be one thing, be the one thing. Don't do something else. It's just, but I think these questions kind of come from those in the, unfortunately, our counterparts, I guess you would call them.
Yeah.
In the training industry are not sure if it's misinformation or disinformation or just incorrect information that you have to start at the bottom and work your way up. That's not the case. If you want to become a cloud architect, you should prepare to become a cloud architect.
Yeah.
Let's look at this from a financial standpoint. Now, that's not to say that if you need to take a job, take a job. Take a job.
Right.
Take a job and
what you have to do, but
still work towards your goals. I mean, we have to sustain ourselves. I get that, but don't take a job expecting it to help you to get to another job. Take that job as a means to an end, to pay your bills, to get your stuff done while still preparing for what you want to do. So let's look at it from the standpoint, if I start as a help desk person and my goal is to become a cloud architect, and I decide, okay, I have to start at help desk because I got to work my way up. I don't know, what does a help desk earn, Mike? 60, 70?
Not even $40,000 to $60,000 a year.
Right. Okay. So you're starting your trajectory and your entire path off at $40,000 as a baseline. Now, if your goal is to become a cloud architect and you start as a cloud architect, then you're starting your baseline at least 3 times as high as that. At least 3 times as high as a base salary. So, yeah, I mean, if your goal is to become a cloud architect, become a cloud architect. If you need to take a job and be employed during the process and it happens to be as a cloud engineer, perfect. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But don't expect that work as the cloud engineer to lead to you being able to do the architect role. Might have some fringe benefits of connections and, getting you in front of some people that you might be able to say, oh, yeah, you know what, I'm an architect. The engineer thing's just getting me through. But it's not the work that you do as an engineer, unless it happens to be a customer-facing sales engineer, that it's not going to have any connection to an architect at all. So if that's your goal, work towards your goal. Don't work towards another job to reach your goal.
And one more thing that I want to add to what Chris said. Chris and I have spoken to numerous chief information officers and companies and people that are doing the hiring for large numbers of people because they hire one of our people and they want more. And they say, I don't want an engineer as an architect. And when you're an engineer, you're going to have to work really hard on changing your brand to convince people that you're an architect and not an engineer, because they don't want a techie as an architect. They want an executive.
Hey, the HR director that we actually had in class today, Alonzo, if you recall, he actually point blank said that. He
Allows me to do that.
point blank said
He did.
the 300 architects that we're looking to bring on we're bringing them on to be able to communicate with our customers,
Right.
and
Not touch the command line.
not touch not that.
No.
We need the we need the people to hold their hands and help them and do their transformation, because that is what we're missing. And I'm like, and I actually asked him at one point, I said, would you think it's fair to say that a lot of your counterparts at other companies probably feel the same way? And he says, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I was like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what are your counterparts at other organizations saying? And he said the same thing. And so,
wow.
So yeah, that I liked that opportunity of social proof in real time for me in class today. That was nice. I was like,
that was, yeah. I mean, it keeps emphasizing what we say over and over, whether it's verbally through webinars and videos or through the news articles and business articles that we have, which I believe we're up to 94 articles this year total.
Yep.
So we emphasize that over and over again. So it does make sense that what we're saying is based off of experience, based off of industry, based off of everything that goes in the same form and way of being successful as a cloud architect. So we're just not talking here. We're talking about experience. We're talking about relevancy and competency. And this is what the industry is echoing as well.
Exactly. So I'm going to go out of order here. We just got a dangerous assumption here. So these are two completely different things. One, both cloud architects and cloud engineers need to know how the cloud works. Yes.
Yes.
The next part.
Tell it, Chris.
The next part, and how to build a cloud ecosystem.
Oh, that's where it goes different.
Yeah.
One of them builds. The other one designs it.
Yes.
And knowing how to build does not help you design. I'm going to bring it back to the building architect.
But knowing how
architect designs a shopping mall.
Yeah.
They don't know how to use a hammer. They don't know how to use a screwdriver. They don't know how to use a saw. A team of engineers builds things. And the knowledge necessary to design a system has nothing to do with the knowledge necessary to build the system. There's a difference between a technician and someone else. The doctor writes a prescription. The nurse actually does the work at the hospital. Different skills. We cloud architects don't build ever. Every time I have an architect here, they tell you they've never touched the technology. In 25 years of architecture, I've never once touched the technology. Now, smore what? Here's what you need to know. If I told you that we did $26 billion in revenue and we're looking to increase sales by 2%, what technology systems can do that? That's what an architect does. Now, smore what if I said, we're a bank with 26,000 remote locations. How would you build the plan to take us to the cloud? You need to know that as an architect, but we don't touch the technology. It's different. Smore what? We have 8 internet connections we'd like to load share without getting out of order packets. How do you do that? Smore what? What should my demilitarized zone look like for this web application? That's architect work. Now, learning how to configure will not teach you any of that. Knowing how to set up an S3 bucket is meaningless when it turns to how do you do these things. So it's a completely different thing. And that's why people that get 10 certifications, we have to strip half of them off of someone's resume because the hiring managers won't hire them with it because they don't want engineers. They want architects. It reminds me of Arun, who was the most technical guy we had. I think he was an IIT graduate. He had 8 million certifications. He had all this coding and configuring. He's like, Mike, I go on interview after interview after interview when everybody wants me. And I said, Arun, Tuesday's architecture class. Can we do your resume? And he's like, yeah, anything I needed to get hired. And it was me and him on Zoom. And I got rid of all his certifications. He looked so frustrated with me.
Yeah.
I got rid of all the coding and the hands-on tech stuff. I got rid of everything and started talking about digital transformation. Within 1 month, he had 3 super high-paying jobs. Now he calls me all the time, Mike, I want to pop in class. I love my job. You're right. I do more business at the bar or playing golf than I ever would. I don't touch the tech. Architects don't do that. And I've got architects in Asia not touching it, in Europe not touching it, in the Middle East not touching it, in America, South Africa, their architects don't touch the technology. Knowing how to design and how to build are exactly opposite. And if you don't know that or believe that, go ask a construction worker how to design a shopping mall or how to design a hotel, or ask an airplane mechanic how to fly the plane. It's a different job and you need different skills. That's why we train people from every one of these certification programs, because they're not horrible. And we interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people before we even started the company, and said, how would you design this? Not a single one knew, because the solution architect certifications, name of the service, how they configure that. That's why we get hireds every day. Now, it's interesting, if Alonzo and I sound too much alike, we're even 1,500 miles apart and we're drinking the same water bottle. We didn't plan this.
Simpatico.
All right, so let's see our next one. Che Divine says, I would like to know the difference between a cloud architect versus an enterprise architect. My experience is in business credit analysis and management.
Well, good news. The credit analysis has nothing to do with what we do, but if you're used to managing, teams of 20, 30 people, that's a huge help for both cloud architects and enterprise architects. Here's the thing, and I've done both. And the way we train our cloud architects, we're teaching them cloud architecture and enterprise architecture at the same time. And that's why a lot of our students get hired as enterprise architects sometimes, but usually they got to get hired as a cloud architect first. A cloud architect comes into a company and tells the company, asks the company about their business goals, business needs and challenges, and figures out which things they could do on the cloud to improve their business. An enterprise architect like me meets with those same executives and says, okay, here's the things we do on the cloud. Here's the things we do off the cloud. Here's the people, processes, and technologies. Now, a cloud architect is typically a director level position, and an enterprise architect is a director to VP level position. I've been both. I much prefer enterprise architecture because here's where I can really do my MBA work and really do my executive thing. And as an enterprise architect, there's more options for me, but they're very, very similar. So think of it this way. A cloud architect is between 50 to 80% business and 20% technical, whereas an engineer is 100% technical. And an enterprise architect is 80 to 100% business and max 20% technical. But it's not like business analysis, it's like business strategy. In fact, when I worked as an enterprise architect, I was on a strategy consulting team, and I didn't know whether I was doing more management consulting, which is business architecture, which I would also do, and I would also do enterprise architecture, which is just like business architecture mixed with a little technology. Great question, G.
All right, so let's see here. So while I got the banner up here, I just want to remind everybody that the 60% off discount is ending a week from today. So make sure to take advantage of that while it's still here. Once it's gone, it's gone.
It's gone. Gone. We have to emphasize that.
Daniel, smart guy here.
Yeah, I remember him.
So, Daniel, if the end goal is to be an enterprise architect, what are some areas to focus more on versus preparing to be a cloud architect for someone coming from banking, compliance, and risk background?
Great question. So financial modeling would be something that would be good for you.
Yes.
Process re-engineering would be something good for you. Your CXO relevancy, meaning what you communicate to the CEO, CFO, CIO, CTO is good for you. Executive writing, because you're going to be doing a lot of it. Lots of presentations and getting used to presenting things. Now, the other thing we do as cloud architects, but even more as enterprise architects, is we translate business needs to technology people. Because the technology people, unless they're architects, don't understand business. They understand tech. And business people don't care at all about tech. In fact, here's the thing. If Alonzo's the CEO and I say, Alonzo, I got this really cool router that's 10,000 times faster than any other router, he's going to look at me like, yeah, Mike, get out of here.
Don't care.
Alonzo, we have this new router, and this new router can move traffic so much faster that it can enable your business to do 20% more sales. Now he's interested.
Yeah.
So the enterprise architect is purely business. So make sure you're good at leading teams of 30 to 50 people, because you'll be doing that as enterprise architects. You'll be speaking at conferences. You'll be like me, where you're writing articles at magazines. In fact, I just found out that I was published in 94 articles in the last 13 months. Didn't know until today. in big magazines. So you'll be writing lots of magazines. You're going to be speaking at conferences. You may be interviewed on TV, and you're going to be spending half of your time in the C-suite and the rest of your time interfacing with the technical teams. And you're kind of going to be that go-between business needs. So business acumen, leadership, executive presence, executive communication skills, and as much business knowledge as you can get. Great question.
I like that. Yeah, Daniel, I've seen his name. He's asked some amazing questions during class.
He does.
All right, let's see here. RCE says, is it necessary to get TOGAF?
No. RCE, there's no certification that's necessary for anything, ever. We have Delroy Batt, paramedic, EMT, from the fire department, hired as a cloud architect, cloud security architect, no less. 0 certifications whatsoever. We've got Robert Welch getting a very senior architect job with a cloud practitioner. The TOGAF is this fluffy little certification with regards to architectural framework, and here's my experience with TOGAF. At Cisco, we had a team that all was TOGAF certified. They'd present to the customer, and the customer would look at them like this. And then they'd call me, and they'd say, Mike, what was he talking about? I'm like, well, this is some framework. We're going to throw this in the trash. Now, what are your business requirements? Okay, this is exactly what you need. They're like, thank you. There is no certification that is necessary for any job. Now, RCE, let me tell you, certifications are like icing on the cake, and here's where people use them wrong. They get 10 certifications and think it's going to make them good, but you've got 10 jars of icing and no cake. I promise you, the bakery is going to go out of business.
Very good. Yeah.
Now, if you've got a beautiful wedding cake that was made by master bakers, and now you've got some icing, it looks better, so you can sell it potentially for a little more. So RCE, all the certification will ever do is potentially help you get an interview, but it will never, ever, ever get you hired, ever, because it's just icing. So build the cake, and you can get hired with just the cake. That happens all the time. I've got lots of students getting hired with like nothing in the way of certifications. But the TOGAF is not a certification that I would ever recommend. I've been an enterprise architect. I've trained countless enterprise architects, and I've gotten lots of enterprise architects hired, and not a single one of them had TOGAF. And I always recommend against it for that reason.
Well played, Mike.
Well, it's like a framework, and frameworks don't mean anything. It's like, so you got a little model, and these are the little things and things. And it doesn't tell you what the tech is, and it doesn't tell you what the business solution is. So I just find it confusing, and most
it's just guidelines.
Yeah.
Okay. When I'm creating a resume for cloud architect job application, what kinds of things would I write on the experience section?
What kind of experience do you have?
Right. So, well, yeah, it all boils down to what experience you have. Can you talk about architecture solutions that you've designed, that you've played a part in, that business solutions that you've been responsible for?
Are you a subject matter expert in networking, storage, compute? Do you understand architectural designs like hub and spoke, things of that nature?
And let's talk about how you're able to do that. So you either do that by showing work experience, or you have to be able to show your competency. So if you don't, you can't make up experience.
Oh.
And that's
don't do it.
That's one of the things that one of the big parts of our program is that we give that experience as part of our program, because in our program, we deal with real world scenarios and real world solutions and real world applications and business scenarios. So we provide that type of experience as part of our program. So that is a major benefit for people that are in our program, is that they're able to list this work that they've done with us in Go Cloud Careers as part of their experience. So you follow up with that you have no tech experience. So your experience section is going to be your previous work experience, and you're going to tailor your resume to explain what you've done in your previous roles in a way that shows how it's beneficial to the business. And this is the type of thing that we cover in great detail in both our Cloud Architect Career Development Program and our Tech Interview Mastery Program. Yeah. It's not something that we can talk about here. It's not, this forum doesn't allow for us to be able to go in depth on that. But that's the easiest way to answer that is you utilize the experience that you do have. You just have to find a way to tie that to the role that you want. And that's a big obstacle that a lot of people face is how do you do that?
And to be fair, in our programs, we do create all the architectures and environments that you'll have an experience section because all of our students do an internship. And that's one of the reasons our students are so successful. And we can't ask you questions to be collaborative, but I used to practice medicine before I went into tech. And I asked people questions to determine what the problem was so I could come up with an effective resolution. Guess what? As an architect, I ask what their business problems are so I can come up with an effective resolution. And it's the same thing. So what I did was I showed all of the things in my old job that were really the same as my new architect job, and I was hired. But you've got to know the architect job well. You got to have the ability to translate your old job to your new job. And of course, you can't lie. The second you lie on a resume, it's all over. Yeah. And we're going to ask you questions on your resume. Mm-hmm. And if there's something on your resume that's untruthful, it's over. In fact, Prince, I'm going to give you a secret. I used to have a cookie jar in my office. And everybody knew what the cookie jar was because I interviewed thousands of people. And I don't eat butter, sugar, flowers, or cookies, ever. And I had a giant cookie jar in my office. And what would happen is I'd ask someone an interview question. I saw they lied on their resume, and I start feeding them cookies. And my manager was like, "What's the cookie jar for?" I said, "This person lied to me, and I'm never going to hire someone that's lied to me. So I can't kick them out and have them escorted out by security. I got to be polite. So I'll feed them cookies and tell them they come back when they have more experience," which is a better answer than "you're terrible." So cookie, cookie, cookie. So I bought about $40 of cookies each week for people. And I fed a lot of people cookies because 1,000+ people had lied to me in the first few years of me interviewing people. And now I interviewed 5,000 people, and I gave a whole lot of cookies out of my career. Now, Prince, I actually hired somebody, his name was Shanur, that had zero tech background whatsoever because he was so honest and his attitude was so good that I trained him. And I've done that in the past, but you cannot lie on your resume.
No.
All right. Let's see here. A follow-up to RCE's question earlier about the TOGAF. I had a hiring manager ask for TOGAF because I was weak in the area of EA.
You'll still be weak in the area of enterprise architecture after TOGAF, and you'll learn absolutely nothing.
No.
But here's the thing. If your manager asks for it, there. But here's what I want you to understand, RCE. I hate to use this term, and I've used it a lot. So if you bomb an interview, they have two things they can say. They can say you're incompetent, or they can say come back when you're experienced, or they can give you something like go learn this.
Yep.
And that's what the answer to that was.
Yep.
If you're weak at enterprise architecture, I promise you, you probably don't have business acumen, meaning you're not reading financial statements and being able to interpret them. I promise you, you're not good at giving presentations in front of a 1,000-person audience or a group of CIOs and CTOs and CIOs. I promise you it had to do with something like that. And it had nothing to know with your EA. Because as a rule, these aren't very technical jobs. And 90% of the people that I've seen not make it through enterprise architect jobs, either it was business acumen, executive presence, presentation skills, sales skills. So I would ask you, have you sold products above $20 million in the past? Have you led a team of over 20 people in the past? Have you delivered presentations to billion-dollar executives that are worth at least $1 billion? And if the answer is no, that's probably what's going on.
Yeah. And just to clarify, this is my area of expertise. If somebody's not good on the interview, like Mike said, there's two ways that it's going to go. Come back when you have more experience, or you didn't have enough experience, or something like that, or they're going to put something in front of you that they know that's not attainable, or it could be attainable, but you don't have it right now, and they already know it, so it immediately disqualifies you.
Yeah.
And so, in this case, that seems to be that seems to be the case here. So, but there's 50 different ways that it could have gone the wrong way, and any one of those would have led to the hiring manager putting this roadblock in the way. And again, that just comes from my experience of having been that person. That unfortunately, it's an unfortunate reality. Like Mike had his cookies, I had my gates that I would put up and say, come back. Do you have this thing? And I know you don't have this thing. But that's usually what happens.
And actually, I did it once. I had somebody that had like 12 associate certifications to interview for a networking job, and they knew zero about networking. Zero. And he asked me, what could I learn? What certification should I get? I said, well, I would remove all 11 of these from your resume. And if you're going to get a certification, do the Cisco Certified Internet Expert. That's when it was a really hard 2-day exam where everybody failed it. And I said, because in order to get through that exam, you're going to have to be great. And when you can prove to Cisco, because it was a physical exam and a proctor exam, that you're good enough, chances are you'll be so great, we'll have a great job for you. Come back then. Now, I knew we would have had to do 75,000 pages of reading in order to do that, and spend about 1,000 hours in minimum practice training for it. So I knew that was the only fix that I could give him, because he was just so bad. Now, I'm not saying you're so bad. It's usually a business thing. We usually have a technical person that gets passed over due to lack of business skills when they try and do that.
All right. So Daniel says, for an architect specializing in BGP, how much depth is ideal initially, besides being able to explain what BGP is, why we use it, routing and decision tree algorithm? Of course, it takes years to be an expert. So
yeah. So here's the thing, Daniel. Nothing works without the network. Zero. And the network is how your traffic gets in and out of your system. So you must have a good understanding of BGP. Now, the amount of BGP that you need to know is sufficiently covered in Bassam Halabi's book, Internet Routing Architectures. But I mean, you need to know that cover to cover. So I'm connecting to multiple links. I need BGP. How do I load share? Because even in the AWS Advanced Networking, which is not even an intro to junior level networking, they tell you not to. They tell you to block one link. Now, I don't know any customer that's going to pay for 200 gig links and block one. They're going to hire a CCA equivalent, someone that's got that level of knowledge that can do it for them. So you need to be able to understand how to architect it, how to traffic engineer it, the algorithm, the message types that are in there. Now, you don't need it to be someone like me that has 10,000 hours of BGP experience and worked with every internet service provider, but you need to be pretty strong. So at least how it works and how to architect it and why you use it. And if it gets complicated, here's the good thing, Daniel. As architects, you're not expected to know everything. One of my favorite African proverbs is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Now, every architecture I've ever worked on, Daniel, needs a team of 15 to 50 people. And I'm going to have one network architect that knows nothing other than networking, and 2 security architects that know nothing other than security. And I'll have a big data architect that's really great at big data. And I'll have a couple of DevOps engineers on the team, and they're not part of the design, but why are they going to be there? We're going to ask how quickly they can deploy this to help us figure out what it's going to cost. And we'll have some cloud engineers, because they're going to know the tech deeper than the architects. And we're going to have them involved to try and say, is this going to work after we design it? So that's the point, is we're going to have architects from all backgrounds. We'll have IAM architects that are specialists on user authentication, for example, and authorization and accounting. So you need to be able to either be a great leader and tie a bunch of people together, or know it fairly well yourself. I recommend being a great leader, because here's the thing. Lonzo knows cloud architecture. Chris is an excellent business executive. I don't think I could survive without Chris. He's that good.
Well, yeah,
Now,
he is.
having said that, I would rather Chris, who does not know cloud architecture, design an architecture by bringing 50 of the best and brightest people together and leading them to a design, and he could do it, versus somebody that's got 25 years experience that's going to work on their own and thinks they know it on his own. Because Chris will bring a team of the best and brightest together, and the person that thinks they know it all, I promise you, doesn't know anything. Because if you think you know it all, you don't even know what you don't know. And I won't build an architecture that doesn't have 15 to 50 people, because I know what I know. I know a lot about my small area, but I also know I don't know what I don't know. And my customers deserve better than me trying to pretend I know everything. They deserve the work of 50. Plus, Alonzo is my customer right now. Hey, Alonzo, I've got 25 years experience. I put everything I could into this architecture. No, you don't look overly thrilled. Alonzo, in order to design this for you, I contacted Cisco, Microsoft, Palo Alto, Fortinet, and Checkpoint. I brought in a team of network architects, security architects, DevOps engineers, regular engineers, software developers, application architects, and IAM architects. Together, the team had almost 1,000 years of experience. We put this proposal to you. Would you like to talk about it some more?
Yes, Mike, I'm definitely interested in the array of resources that you've put together for us.
And that's the difference. I'm not going to sell $1 billion architecture by pretending I'm smart enough to do it on my own.
No.
And if I said that to the executive, they'd laugh me out of the room. But when I show them my leadership skills and the people that I could bring in, now we're talking.
Okay. Sorry, my computer was acting up. All right. Let's see. So here's the question. How to design an Azure environment?
Well, RCE, it all starts with what's the business problem?
Yep.
So first thing you need to know what business problem you have. Then you need to know what you're solving. Then after that, you need to think of all the people, processes, and technologies that need to be done. Then you got to figure out the current technology that they have and the future technology state. And then from there, you got to figure out what number of virtual machines, what containers you're going to use, what kind of security you're using, what business applications you're using. You're going to have to design an IP addressing plan for the whole thing. You're going to have to design a routing plan for the whole thing. You're going to have to design a lot of it. And that's a question that honestly takes us over 500 hours to teach. I'm not joking. We spend more than 500 hours teaching how to do that. And 500 hours is the fastest we could do it. So it's not something we can ask in a question, and it's not something covered in certifications. But that's what we train in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. It takes a lot. Starting with understanding business needs, because nobody hands you a piece of paper that says, build this, Mike. Architects are not engineers. The architect designed it based upon the business requirements. What you're basically asking me is the same thing as how do I practice medicine? Because the doctor and the architect have the same job. When I used to practice medicine, patient was, what brings you in today? My throat hurts. As an architect, what challenge do you have? We're trying to increase revenue. As a doctor or a nurse practitioner, what do I ask? Can I ask you some questions? What makes your throat better? Makes your throat worse? As an architect, what are your competitors doing? What have you tried? What systems do you have that are working and not working? Same job. As a doctor, I make a diagnosis. As an architect, I make a diagnosis. As a doctor, I make a plan called a prescription. As an architect, I make a plan called an architecture. And that's why you can't learn architecture on your own, just like you can't learn to practice medicine on your own. You need somebody to teach you. But it's a great question. Come to the free webinar on Thursday, and we'll tell you what goes into it and all the things you need to learn. And if you want to try and learn these things on your own, you try. And you'll know exactly what to live. And if not, you'll know to get this from an MBA program, and this from an executive coach, and this from a sales coach, and you'll be able to learn the tech. The tech is the easiest part of this job. By far.
All right. Let me see here. Varun says, how will a ERP system architect
and that marriage or any relationship takes work
can transition his career after enrolling to your course?
Varun, you're going to have to learn everything that a different kind of architect does. So figure an ERP system knows 1 to 5% of it. We'll have to teach you the other 5%. So we'll have to teach you the network, the data center, the cloud, the security. And we're also going to have to get much more involved in business. Because when you're dealing with ERP architects, for the most part, they're typically techies. Why? Because it's only 5% of the business. Some businesses don't even have ERP systems. So it's kind of like, if you want to look at the sky right now, Varun, I want you to understand the perspective. Right now, as an ERP architect, you got a telescope and you're looking at the moon, and that's all you can see. The cloud architect or enterprise architect has to look at the entire sky. And we're going to have to teach you what all the constellations are, the equivalent, how to track things that are in the sky, and how to see the bigger picture. And then what are the pieces and parts in the whole sky that work to get it together? So, well, you'll become a cloud architect or an enterprise architect after our course. But you're going to need training for that. Same way I needed training to go from internal medicine to tech. It's no different. An ERP architect is like saying, I know how to use a hammer, and I'm real good at that hammer. Now, how do I design a hotel? Training. Training. Now, some of those skills that you have will be good, but it's 5% of what you need. But don't worry, we're experts at this. Daniel Bosa didn't even graduate high school, and he's working at JP Morgan Chase. We had a big data architect who was in the same situation, Varun. His name was Praveen. I love Praveen. We trained him to be a cloud architect, and he's a cloud architect at JP Morgan Chase. It's no different than Joe Millen, who was a network architect. And 3 weeks later in our program, he's working at AWS as a senior solutions architect. Why? He learned 1% of it. We taught him the other 95. But that's really the same thing. It's going from one to the other. But you got to remember, the bigger your focus is, the less you need to learn. ERP is just one small application out of the 50 or hundreds or thousands that are in business. And it doesn't really cover the network and data center. So that's okay. You can learn it. The good news is you'll know a lot about ERP systems. And that will be able to help lots of your organizations be better. And you can be an architect that has a lot of knowledge on that. And guess what you'll do, like I do? I got a lot of knowledge on the network. I bring in other people. I promise you, as cloud architects, they're going to be looking for ERP people, because I always do. And you'll be on that cloud architecture team, and you'll be able to help others there while other people help you in their specialties.
Okay. I'm going to start off on the response to this one. Why does all the Google AWS Solution Architect courses teach you technical skills instead of the business-related skills of being an architect in the way you described this evening? It's not just the Google or the AWS, it's all of them. Everybody, unless it's an organization that's truly offering you architect training, that's going to be in the thousands of dollars range, tens of thousands of dollars range, probably. You're only going to get technical training.
Yeah,
and even at that point, you're still going to get probably 90% tech and a little bit of soft skills.
I dare say 95, Chris.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to hedge my bets here. It's just and again, this, as I said this yesterday, this is my cynical self coming out. If they can, it may be beneficial to them to only focus on the technical skills, because people will have to keep coming back saying, what do I need to do now? I can't get the job. What do I need to do now? And well, you can do this next thing. And then you can do this next thing. But that's my cynical self coming out.
And there's a lot more to this. And I'm going to read you something. But before I get to this, if you take a Google class, let's say you took an AWS one, they're going to teach you to use things like ECS, DynamoDB, Amazon Aurora, WAF. With David, you're not going to use any of these in your real career. And here's the reason why. If you get hacked with WAF, you're hacked. If you use a next generation firewall like the kind that all enterprises uses, as soon as a hacking event starts, the intrusion detection, intrusion prevention kicks in and it stops the attack. So nobody's going to use this. Now, 81% of customers use more than one cloud. So guess what? You can't use ECS, you can't use DynamoDB, you can't use Aurora. In AWS certification, they teach you to use CloudFront. Like it's a big all be all end all content delivery network. Do an NS lookup on Amazon 10 times during the day. You're going to find out that they use a lot more than CloudFront because they wouldn't use their own advice in their own architecture.
Yeah.
Now, they also want you, if you're working for a company as an architect, not to be that smart, because that way they can come in and sell you on proprietary things. Now, here's the thing. CIO magazine started looking at these things and they were like, what's going on? Cloud architects don't do this. So what they actually did is say, hey, we know these certifications are garbage, but let's ask the people that hire cloud architects, what would you actually like? And that way we can put a real cloud architect job description as opposed to this garbage with sysops and DevOps and coding and configuring. And they did. My team can put a link of it. So Gartner started asking CIOs all over, what do you want in a cloud architect? And they published it in CIO magazine. It's the real job description. Now, I say we design, present, and sell and lead teams. That's what we do. But here's what Gartner said, and it's published in CIO magazine. After asking CIOs, what do you want? CIOs run the IT department. They said, someone that can lead the cultural change for cloud adoption, someone that can develop and coordinate a cloud architecture, that means design, and someone that can develop a cloud strategy and coordinate the adoption process. So design, and lead. Now they said, okay, now what do you really want the detailed things for people to do? And they said, well, help find talent with the necessary skills. Why do you think I've interviewed 5,000 people in my architect career? It says application, software, and hardware, meaning the same thing that I talked about is asking questions, what's going on? Creating a cloud broker team, which means leading the team, establishing best practices for the cloud across the company, leadership, selecting cloud providers and vetting third-party services. Guess what? More leadership. Overseeing governance, more leadership, working with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and estimate cost, and operate at scale. So Alonzo, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to stick both hands up, left hand and right hand, and we're going to count the number of tech things, get them all on the screen. Okay, we're going to count the number of business things versus technical things. Leading the cultural change for cloud adoption, put that on your leadership hand.
Okay.
Developing a we'll just put one finger. Okay. Developing and coordinating a cloud architecture. That's tech. Use that on your tech hand. No.
Okay.
Okay. So good. Now developing a cloud strategy. That's leadership. So put that on your leadership hand. Finding talent with the necessary skills. That's leadership. Assessing application, software, and hardware. Put that on your tech hand. Creating a cloud broker team. Put that on your leadership hand. Establishing best practices by talking to people and writing them down. Put that on your leadership hand. You're already out of fingers. Okay, so now selecting cloud providers and vetting third-party services. Let's say we call that tech, just out of curiosity. So we can have 3 for tech.
Yeah.
Overseeing governance and mitigating risk. We got to get that on the leadership hand. Okay, so you got to start again. You're out of fingers. Yeah. That is 6. Working with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures. Back to tech, back to leadership, because no, not your tech hand, leadership.
Okay.
You're giving a lot of benefit of the doubt on these.
There we go.
Manage budgets and estimate costs, leadership. Operating at scale, more leadership. So you got 10 to 3.
That's 10 right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you tried really hard to make those tech.
And I really worked hard to give anything to the tech. I mean, what did I really do as an architect? Well, one year I spent $100,000 on lunches and $100,000 on dinners and golf exchanges on the company credit card. I entertained lots of people. I gave a lot of executive briefings. I flew all over the place talking to people, but we don't touch the tech. So here's the thing. CIO magazine is telling you what I want. And yet people go and get all these ridiculous certifications, which we don't want anyway. We're not hiring people on that. So that's the reason why certifications will never get anybody hired.
Right.
And that's the sad reality. And that's why I started this company, because I interviewed 1,000 people and saw there was nothing out there teaching architecture. Now, you could learn architecture the way I did. It cost $325,000 to do it. But I didn't think that anybody could really afford that. I was lucky, an employer probably paid $150,000 of it. I got a scholarship for one of it. And I probably paid the other $150,000 on my own. But, I paid for it, and it was worth it for me, and I'm grateful that I could afford to do it, and I did do it. But that's why we do this, and that's why we have these question and answer sessions, because I don't want anybody wasting their time learning irrelevant things. I want y'all hired, like my students.
All right. Let's see. There's an interesting one. What are some of the traps that consultants face when walking into a new environment? Whew.
Good question.
Yeah, that's a reasonable question.
That's a reasonable one because
first thing is he better read people because you're going to have enemies the second you walk in the door. Because an architect consultant like me or any consultant, the engineers say, wait, this guy's coming in, some of us are going.
Yep.
So first thing you got to be able to do is read people. The second thing you need to do is be able to establish relationships. If you don't have a relationship with the right people, you're kicked out of there and you're fired. The third thing is gathering information. If your information gathering is not good, you're in trouble. The next thing you need to literally do is have the body language reading skills, and we teach this in our program, how to see who's actually in charge and who's not. Because if you're not working with the people that are in charge and you're not getting buy-in from the executives, again, you're kicked out, you're fired, and your replacement says thank you. So that's just some of it. Then you got to get to the heart of the issues, the real issues. And when it comes to architecture, everybody's got something they care about. And everybody wants to babble, 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 babble. It's kind of like when you're a doctor and the patient comes in, and they're coming in because they're sore throat, and they start telling you about Fred's Aunt Martha's Neil infection, and Joey's thing, and Billy Bob's thing. So you got to tune all that out and get the right information. And you got to do that fast. So I'd say at least the first things is figuring out who your enemies are going to be, how to win over your enemies or mitigate your enemies, how to read people and figure out who the leaders are, and then figuring out who the right people are to work with and partner with in the organization, and figure out which people you need to bring in from your organization in order to make it work. And that's long before we even think about any of the architectures that we have to design. How about you? Either you guys do some management consulting?
The traps are watching.
Well, I think one of the things when it comes to the traps of a consultant is don't show your entire hand when you get there.
Yep.
Okay? Assess the terrain first. Don't say too much because you don't know who's who and who's on your team or who's trying to sabotage your efforts. And quite honestly, they might steal your efforts. So one of the things that have been helpful for me is that if there's someone that already works there or someone who's already been there, go look for allies. Okay? Go look for people that are in your corner, or rather you can create alliances with, so that, you know, it's a quid pro quo. You wash your back, I wash your back, you wash mine. So one of the main things that I would definitely suggest is just first find out what's going on. Find out where, if there's someone who's willing to give you a few nuggets, or someone you think you might be able to align, take them out to lunch. First things first. Buy them something that will cater to them, to their ego, or something to that effect of understanding who they are as a person. And that'll help you kind of take your first steps in that environment.
Good advice.
But yeah, please don't, hey, my name is such and such, nice to meet you, you know, how are you, you know, slow down. That's just the reality of it.
Chris is muted. Maybe intentionally, maybe not.
Here's my kind of question. Varun says, how about imposter syndrome, about public speaking, presentation skills for an individual who has never done it? Okay, so these are two different things.
Yes.
Imposter syndrome and fear of public speaking are two different things. Now, imposter syndrome can be a part of your cause for a fear of public speaking, but how will your program help? So, at the core, at every, I've got a feeling that we're all going to have a different piece to the puzzle for this, because there's different ways to look at imposter syndrome, because it covers every person's version of imposter syndrome might have a different cause. So, you know, you've got the cause where you don't know what you're supposed to. Like, that's true. Like, and you're in a position, you've put yourself in a position where you're not ready for it. So, of course, naturally, you're going to have imposter syndrome. And then there's the ones that I see a lot, is that people are comparing themselves unfairly to they're being unfair to themselves by comparing themselves to people that are not in the same boat, that are not the same. That you've got someone that's new that are a couple of months fresh that are trying to compare themselves to a senior architect. No, of course that's going to lead to imposter syndrome. You can't compare yourself to somebody that's got years ahead of you, or even 9 months ahead of you in development. Like, you can't do that. It's not reasonable. So the imposter syndrome, that's something that, unfortunately, not much that we can do except just talk about it and tell you some of the reasons that you might be experiencing it, and then you be like, okay, yeah, it is because I'm trying to compare myself to somebody that's unfair to myself, or yes, it's because I put myself in a position that I'm not ready for. So now, about the public speaking, arguably that's 50% of what we're doing every day in class.
Yes.
Even if it's a tech class, the public speaking and communication is part of it. Our on-demand content, our class recordings, all that is infused with that, because you have to have that. How are we going to help? We make you do it.
Yeah. Over and over and over again.
I have a series of classes that I do. Alonzo does them with me occasionally, or will take my spot. And the class is explaining the technology to me, the guy that's not going to understand it. So we put you in positions where you have to be able to do it. And it's amazing for me. I've had the same people do it every time. And I've been able to see that progress from the first time that they did it to the fourth time that they did it. Because even in classes, we've got assignments that require them to do that, to do presentations and public speaking. But anyway, I want to hear what Mike and Alonzo have to say about these two separate but sometimes related issues.
So, yeah, imposter syndrome, and I know what it feels like, is when you don't think you're good enough. And that's why there's over 500 hours of training in our program. And it's more than 500. It's substantially more than 500. But I won't actually give a number because I'm not the Mr. Math. But I know it's a lot more, over 500. And it takes 500, 600 plus hours to really teach you what you need to know to do this. And if you need to, and if you know it, you won't have imposter syndrome. Now, also, people do have anxiety. Now, in our program, I brought in some cognitive behavior therapy because they invented it at the University of Pennsylvania. And guess where I did my site clinical rotations when I used to practice internal medicine? University of Pennsylvania. And I've been trained in cognitive behavior therapy. And cognitive behavior therapy is used by Olympic athletes, it's used by Navy SEALs, and it's used by psychologists, psychiatrists, and medical professionals to calm anxiety and depression. So it's there. I actually brought in a meditation coach to actually teach meditation and special pranayama breathing techniques. I even brought in a yoga instructor to also teach yoga and other ways to teach people from mind control and how to calm the body. Because if you're nervous on an interview, you're not going to get hired. And we want people to really win the audience and win the interview. So I brought in someone from yoga that obviously trained in India and has 20 plus years of teaching experience, someone that I know that's coached me with yoga for the last 17 years. And I've been to about 400 yoga studios, and no one's near as good as Todd McLaughlin, and that's why I brought him in. And we did that for the mental calmness. Now, we have projects, presentations you present, and our team gives you feedback on it. And guess what? You get better at it. There's ways that we teach presentations. There's ways where we do it under calmness. There's ways where I'll stress you out in a class to make you perform under stress, just like you would in an interview. My students love when I do that because it really teaches them the reality of the feeling of an interview. But we'll go through all these things. And once you do it enough, it won't be scary. The first time I had to stitch somebody up in medicine, I was petrified. I was shaking my hand. The 300th time I was like, yeah, this is normal. First time I had to give a speech in front of executives, it was scary. The 300th time it was normal. So we'll teach you. And after a while, it'll just be second nature for you. It'll be no different than you dealing with an ERP system. I'm sure in the first time it was a little scary when you're getting trained in that. Years later, you're an expert. It's normal for you. It doesn't scare you anymore. So it's training. You know, I never told anybody this until my friend Alvin did on a YouTube live stream. I'm shy. I'm an introvert. That's right. I was an introvert. When Alvin knew me 20 some years ago, early in my architect days, we'd go to a big party. I'd get a glass of wine and hide in the corner. I'd drink my nice little silver oak glass of wine. I'd hide in the corner. I'd find Alvin because he was my friend, and I wouldn't talk to anybody. And then I had to do it. I moved into a bigger role, much more sales. Next thing I know, I'm buying lunches, dinners, and drinks. I'm giving presentations. I'm giving toasts, and it's like, no big deal. Heck, I live stream on YouTube at like 2 hours today and yesterday. You know, it's no big deal for me because I practice. You'll be good at it, Varun. You just need training.
Agree, Varun. Let's look at this imposter syndrome. Repetition. If you are unsure, because I believe repetition creates confidence. Confidence creates a brand within yourself, and people will know that if you are confident and you exude that, then people will know it and believe it because it's what's true about you. So one of the things that you can try, talking in the mirror, talk about something you know about, something that you're comfortable with, and that you can share with and teach with others, and you can do that in the mirror. Or do it in your phone and record it and get a list, record that constantly so that you can see how you improve and how you present to yourself, and then you'll be able to do it with others. So when it comes to our program, we can definitely help with that, because what these gentlemen have said is that we constantly, vigorously, repetitively beat it into you, figure of speech, of course, but we want to make sure that you know it beyond a shadow of a doubt, because that is the end result of how we get people cloud hired. That is how we can showcase that we have, despite anyone having no prior experience as a cloud architect, we're getting people hired in the United States, Sweden, Britain, Africa, South Africa, and many other places, because our program works, it's effective, it's consistent, it's constant, and it's battle proven. So, Varun, we are able to help, and having presentation skills is a must, because one of the things that we talk about with engineers is that why their certifications aren't applicable is because engineers spend their careers talking to the computer via the command line. They're not talking, and they're trained to do that. But that skill is not transferable when you're talking to living, breathing, people. So you need to talk in a language. Python is a language you talk to the command line. Having emotional intelligence and presentation skills are skills that you talk to living people. So have the right skills for the right job, and you're going to be fine.
And we train all of them.
All right, except for that word that Alonso just used called Python. We don't teach that.
Yeah, we don't teach Python.
We don't know what that is.
And I'll never write a Python script, but ChatGPT can do it for you. And I've demonstrated that.
Daniel says, what's the funniest thing you've said or heard when doing a live presentation or when running a meeting with executives?
Well, to be fair, I did see a technical marketing engineer babble about something. And as soon as that person walked out of the room, they were like, thank God, if he didn't leave, we were going to get out of this room and fly back to New York. Wow. This was from San Jose. They're like, I don't know what language he was. It was like speaking Greek. And I'm like, no, it wasn't speaking Greek, because I can translate Greek to English for you. I don't know what that was either. But I promise you, I'll summarize this for you. But yeah, it was that. I also did hear, to be fair, I was at a meeting and everybody was texting each other. And one of the customers said, you think Mike can buy us sushi after the meeting? And I did find that to be absolutely hilarious, that an entire people were trying to plan to me to buy them sushi for lunch after a meeting. But, I didn't mind doing the sushi, the sake thing. It was kind of fun anyway. But those two were kind of really hilarious. And I'm trying to think, usually when it comes to executives and it comes to architects, it's like we're funny when we're not trying to be funny, but when we try to be funny, it's kind of a disaster.
Like today, you were inadvertently funny with that one. I couldn't stop laughing.
I'm actually trying to think of anything that might have been funny in any meeting that I've been in with high level people. And I guess I've never thought about it before. I have, as far as I know, I don't think I've experienced something funny like that stands out. in a meeting with high level people. Huh.
Although there is one lesson learned that I can tell you that I've never made a mistake. But when you're part of a group presentation, you all have microphones on.
Ooh.
Shut that microphone off before you go to the bathroom, before you go pick up your cell phone or do anything else, because I've heard a lot of hot mics in my life.
Yeah.
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 As well. Yeah.
I actually want to think about this. So this is one that I want to come up with an answer for to be able to share next time someone asks it. I'm gonna be thinking about this one for a while.
And I've heard some people say some pretty embarrassing things on hot mics.
All right.
And also, if you're sharing your screen, make sure things, because I have seen things and I have heard things that have gotten people fired because their tabs showed everything that they were doing. So make sure you don't have a hot mic, and make sure that if you're presenting, your screen is clear of any personal information. I don't want you, don't reduce the screen. Close it out altogether, okay? Just word to the wise.
One other thing that I did learn, someone got fired from a job that I know. If you're going to do anything in the background with your wife, girlfriend, husband, wife, don't just shut your camera off, but cover it up with something, because I saw someone got fired for some intimacy at one point in their life while they were on a live stream which had like 30 other employees.
Wow. Man, y'all have more entertaining work than I do.
I've been around for too long.
See, now if somebody asked me the funniest thing I've seen in my hotel experience, oh my God.
I bet you have stories.
Yeah. Oh boy, lots of stories there. But as far as my executive meetings, because I've been in meetings with people that would have normally been funny, but they, I guess there was just too much money on the line. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
So, all right,
I understand that.
Let's move on. Good books to read on business acumen. I've read Good to Great, 7 Habits. Business acumen.
Well, you're going to need to read financial textbooks, the kind of things they would teach in an MBA program.
Yeah.
On economics and finance and microeconomics versus macroeconomics and accounting. I mean, just to even begin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the first time I've seen that question asked about business acumen. Usually we get that question asked about communicating and executive presence and all that stuff.
I don't know if you can learn business acumen out of a book without someone teaching it to you.
Right, exactly.
I mean, some things you can pick up on, like marketing. There's literature on marketing which is relatively good.
And I guess you could learn the math behind some of the business acumen, but the nuance and the context that's required to, because balance sheet is straight math, but what
does it mean?
What does it mean? What's the meaning behind this expenditure that we've never had before?
And every business needs to do things differently. McKinsey does something different than Accenture, even though there's similarities in between their business.
Yeah.
And IBM and Cisco are pretty alike, but Amazon does things a little differently.
Yeah, perfect example. I was actually talking to my wife yesterday, and my wife manages. She's a regional director for for resorts here in Florida, and the way that they're condo hotels, and so you've got the condo association, which is a nonprofit entity, and then you've got the hotel side, which is for profit. So the business acumen required to do both of those at the same time are completely different. The way that you would do the finances for the nonprofit versus the profit, even though it's the same daily work, you gotta have you've got split personality to an extent there. So it's again nuance, context, situation. It's all like it just, yeah, I don't think a book, it's not going to do it.
It's kind of like I learned how to do an ROI model in an MBA program, but I didn't learn how to write a business case until I worked at Cisco. And I would have to write business cases all the time. So I learned how to write business cases from an executive coach that I know, who is a great leadership coach. And she says, well, Michael, it's time for me to teach you this skill that they didn't teach you in school. But you got to be fair. I paid for a lot of education and a lot of coaching to do these things. If you want a high career, you're going to have to get some training somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't learn how to be a doctor on Udemy, for example.
No.
So just so everybody knows, we're going to be wrapping up about 8 o'clock, so 13 minutes from now. So we're going to be trying to get through the rest of the questions that we've got. Next one, I'm not sure if that.
I understand this world very well.
All right, good.
I understand. So happy you're a voice engineer moving towards a solution architect. Unified communications as a service by name as it is now. Will your course help you? Of course it will. I get somebody hired every single day of the week. Now, I come from the world where I've designed a lot of unified communication services. In fact, I designed one for one of the world's largest banks. And it was truly transformational. And that's before they had unified communications as a service. But here's the thing. Nothing as a service is ever as good as the real thing. If somebody brings in 50 Cisco call managers and all the equipment and it's hosted in their environment, it's much higher availability. It works with much higher performance. And there's much more customization than it could are. We will teach you how to be a solution architect. And our solution architects, some of the graduates of our program work at AWS, Azure. We've got a solution architect at Google. We've got solution architects at TELUS. We've got solution architects at JP Morgan Chase, like a lot of them, Capgemini, Accenture, Bearing Point, Deloitte, KPMG, Apple, and every other major company, BBC, and every other major company you can think of. Pretty much, and we don't just have solution architects. We have people coming to our classes saying, I need more of your solution architects. We had a director over at Amazon come to class and say, I need people like yours because you teach communication skills, soft skills, leadership, executive presence, while everybody else is teaching tech. And I don't need the tech. I need the stuff that you're teaching. So yeah, we can help you. And it's not uncommon for our people to get a $100,000 raise after taking our course. We can easily help you. And I know something about voice engineering. I've done some of it myself when I worked for Cisco for about a decade.
All right. So
as an architect.
Next question. Is being overconfident on an interview a plus?
Almighty, being sufficiently confident is good. Mm-hmm. Anytime you look overconfident, you look arrogant, and people don't like arrogance. So the right level of confidence is great. Too much is no good. If I walked into some place, yo, I got your thing covered, it's nothing. Right. No matter how good I am, they'd escort me out of the room. And yeah, I think I could help you. They're also going to escort me out of the room. So it's about having optimal.
Agreed. You have to think of it like pouring your confidence into a glass, or pouring your confidence. The glass is the interview. Your confidence is the water. So you don't pour enough, it doesn't complete the glass. You pour too much, it overflows, and it's not good. It messes everything up. So the right amount for the right job. Okay.
Exactly.
So make sure.
Agreed. All right. So during the interview process, does explaining adversity in your life demonstrate something? Maybe a special skill?
If gotta be careful with that.
Yeah. So it depends. If you're asked about it, yes, because they want to hear it. And that's one of the reasons why we have a specific assignment in our program about that. Another reason that we have that assignment is to make you aware of what you've already been able to accomplish and overcome in your life. Mm-hmm. And so that no matter how daunting you think this road ahead of you in your career development plan might be, you've already overcome so many great things. But one of the reasons we have that in your assignment is because that's a question that usually does come up in an interview at some point. And it's important how you utilize it. Kind of like the confidence thing that we were just talking about. If you describe the wrong scenario of overcoming adversity. You know, I've got some things that I've overcome and had and faced adversity that are probably not the best things to talk about in a meeting or in an interview. Yeah. But if I talked about and this is not my experience, but I know many of people with the experience. Mike being one of them. Never mind. I was going to say coming from very little means and being able to reach extreme great heights and what it took you to do that. And that's by all means a good opportunity to talk about and show your strength and your mental toughness. But yeah, it depends on the situation and how you explain it. It can demonstrate something, but there's a but. You just got to do it the right way.
And if you can apply it towards how you would attack the job, it would make it
right,
even
right. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, definitely. Spot on, Alonzo. Otherwise, there's no reason to talk about it.
No reason.
Exactly. And I'll give you like 3 examples. 2 are good and 1 is bad. Example 1 is somebody saying, well, I was in the Navy SEALs. We went through something called Hell Week, where we had to work out 22 hours a day for 7 days straight. Getting through that taught me how to never quit, be able to work until something's completed, and always deliver excellence no matter how tired I am. Ding, 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 winner. Now, if someone said, you know, I grew up in Ghana, my family earned $200 a month. With this, I wanted to come to the US, so I went to school. I got incredibly good grades. It wasn't easy. I went to the consulate once every 2 months for 2 years straight before someone was willing to get me here. And I got here, and all I did was study and learn to be great. And I can use that level of determination to help somebody win. Ding, ding, ding. You got a winner on your hand. It's a special skill. Now, if you're me, and you were disabled in an accident, and you couldn't walk for 7 years, and you told somebody, well, I did 8 hours of physical therapy every day for 8 years just to be able to walk, and now I can sit in a chair and walk up and down the stairs, but not much more. Now, I don't look so cool to an external hiring manager. The reason is they're worried about me getting hurt again. So the key is 2 of those things is a win. One of them makes me look like they're going to ask, can you fly? Well, no, I really can fly. Can you stand all day? Well, not really. So one makes me look like an asset, and one makes me look like it's a weakness. Now, even though they can't discriminate against you based upon disability, they can still say, well, you can't do the requirements of the job. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So we can all do what we have. We all have special experiences, and how you learn from those experiences is great. So Alonzo gave you a good example. Chris gave you some examples, and I gave you 2 examples. Like, I've got a pro football player that I'm working with right now. My God, who wouldn't want someone that's competitive and willing to win, that's trained at the most elite levels in the entire world? I want to hire that person and drag him on my team just because I know what he can do. So it's kind of like that. Kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
All right. So next question is going to be our last question for the evening. What is your advice when it comes to handling what is your salary range expectation during interviews?
Don't address it until the end. You know, dodge that question, dance around it. And here's the reason. If you come up with too high of a thing, especially initially, they're just going to tune you out. Now, once you prove to them that they can't live without you, now you've got something new you can negotiate with. So I don't ever talk about it unless I'm pinned down. And then I have to say, well, it's really dependent upon exactly what the job entails. So as I learn more about the job, I can give you more information. I'm currently earning this, and I'd like to be somewhere between here and here. But you can't really answer that until you know things. It's kind of like a construction. You ask somebody to design a building for you. How much does the building cost? Well, I don't know. What do you want? Do you want 10 floors? Do you want 2 floors? And you don't know whether the job's going to be a 7-day-a-week, 100-hour-a-week job, or whether it's going to be something where you're going to the beach half of the time. And when you find more about the job and more about what they need you to do, you're going to be good things. But, you know, you really don't need to do this. And many jobs actually have to disclose the salary range ahead of time, and depending upon which state they're in. But that's the key. Before you go on any interview, Gene, at least in our interview training, we teach people how to do what we call recon. Figure out the company, Figure out what they typically pay for these positions. Figure out what your skills are. Figure out what your skills are worth. Cyberstalk the hiring manager. Find out how to establish rapport. Find out what the company likes, and then be able to do that and prepare ahead of time. So you don't go into battle without building a battle plan, and you got to do the research or the reconnaissance prior to this before you get there, and you're going to get a lot of good information. I do a lot of reconnaissance, obviously, ahead of time. Good question.
Right. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. So we will be back again in 2 weeks. Next week is Valentine's Day on Tuesday, so we have some responsibilities and obligations that we have to take care of next Tuesday for Valentine's Day. But we will be back in 2 weeks, and we will be talking about focus and why it is important. So make sure you tune in on February the 21st for our next episode of Head in the Clouds. But I'm going to take the opportunity, since we were just talking about the interview and negotiation, we have our Tech Interview Mastery Program, which is in pre-order, going live later this month, where we include negotiations, resumes, interviews, anything and everything related to winning that interview, getting the interview, and winning it. It also includes group coaching sessions. It also includes 3 private one-on-one consultations. And for the first 20 people that enroll in that program, they get 35% off, as well as access in a series of 5 live coaching sessions with Mike for those first 20 individuals, in addition to everything else that comes with that program. The link for that is in the description and in the chat box, so don't miss out on that. Also, do it.
I want to clarify, that's going to be a small batch coaching session with no more than the first 20 people. We're going to be in there. We're going to practice interview people. We're going to practice coaching them and guiding them, and it's going to be great. In addition to the 3 private sessions that are there, but that bonus is going to all be with me.
All right, and also for 1 more week through next Tuesday, we have our 60% off discount for our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program, with over 500 hours worth of content, 3 live classes a week for an entire year, and just an amazing, amazing opportunity and experience and program to take advantage of. Don't miss out on that opportunity while it is still here. And then, of course, make sure to join us on this Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, or Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for our free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar, where we'll talk about everything that's needed to become the ultimate cloud architect and what type of experience matters, what cloud architects actually do, what hiring managers actually want, and just everything that you need to know. So make sure you take advantage of that, all that we have for you. Any last words, gentlemen?
Mike?
Yeah, just all of you can be anything that you want. I always hear you have to have this, you have to have this, you have to have this. But it's not true. It's not true because it wasn't true for me. It wasn't true for Delroy. Wasn't true for Roy, who's just got a senior cloud architect job, bypassing even the standard cloud architect job. Wasn't true for Wallace. Wasn't true for Daniel. Wasn't true for Balwinder. Wasn't true for Jeffrey. Wasn't true for Coyote. Wasn't true for so many people that we've dealt with. They're the ones that I've had the most personal contact with, so they always pop in my mind. Jermaine and so many others. But the point is, you can all do it as long as you believe in yourself and you get the right training. There's nothing you can't learn. Now, some people learn a little faster than others, but there's nothing you can't learn. With the right effort, the right training, and the right plan, you can all do it. And the biggest thing that keeps people is fear. Do you know most people, statistically speaking, are more afraid of speaking in public than dying? I mean, that's crazy. People are less afraid to die than talk in front of a group of people. Talk in front of a group of people, you're not scared. You can get beyond fear. I got to tell you, the thing that I was afraid of in life, I hated snakes. I was always afraid of them for no reason. I was petrified of snakes. Now I got a beautiful cat named Cindy. Each day she brings me a snake. I live in Florida. There's lots of snakes. I pick them up and escort them out of the house every single day. I'm no longer afraid of snakes. The point is any fear that you have, you can learn how to get past. Now I had to learn how to take the snakes out. I wasn't stupid. I just didn't pick them up in my hands. But the point is you got to learn it, whether it's whatever it is, you can do it. So please go after your dreams. Don't let fear hold you back. Just do it. Whatever that dream is. Run a marathon. Do it. Become a cloud architect. Do it. But just conquer your dreams. You don't want to be 80 years old or 90 years old and regretting your life, wishing you could have done it before. Do what you love and go after your dreams. How about you, Alonso?
Absolutely, Mike. We are here to help. We want to emphasize that we have the correct formula to help you to get to your cloud career dreams immediately and with that efficiently. So we want everyone to not hesitate. Don't he and haw, if we, for lack of a better term, to debate about, or don't, quite frankly, don't wait for the next big discount, because that will never come. These are our largest discounts to date, and these are for everyone who wanted to have that opportunity before we close the door on that forever. So don't hesitate. Let's get your cloud career going immediately. So reach out to us. We're here to help, and we want to make sure that you get the best experience on your way to becoming a cloud architect.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. See y'all on Thursday at the webinar.
Hello, everyone. This is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.